Hello there, welcome to CandTCollectibles. I am C. Hope you're doing well. I hope everybody had a lovely Thanksgiving holiday, relaxing, sleeping afterwards, probably with all the tryptophan and the turkey and all that kind of good stuff. So today, leftover day, not too bad, not too bad. So, all right, want to just say something really quick here. On Monday, Will and Dakota had a conversation, and they're very kind enough to shout me out here. And Dakota mentioned that one of the reasons he doesn't do the market reviews on his end anymore is because he, quote, that I do it better. And I just want to throw out that, I appreciate the comment and the sentiment, but I think I do it different. That's all. I don't think I'm any better than a lot of the market reviews out there. I just do it differently. So I look at cards as more of a commodity, like gold, silver, things that don't have internal earnings, interest, dividends, all that kind of good stuff. It just trades purely on price action, and so I just look at it that. But I think, guys like Dakota, Neo, they do a really nice job telling a narrative and a story behind these cards as well. And I think that's probably more entertaining, honestly, and I think it's equally useful. So thanks for the sentiment, bud. But honestly, better? Nah, just different is all. So let's get after it here. We're going to start off with some goats and then hit some names in individual sports and see what we see. Mike Trout, PSA 10. Continues to grind sideways, and a little minor uptrend within the downtrend, so no change from last week for the most part. You see a lot of buying in that 2,800 area here, so we're sitting in that 2,875, and so we'll see what happens. Again, I want to see these cards hang on for another month, and then if we can start to get people buying into the spring training, I think that would be a good sign overall. So just hang on for a little bit here, bud. Griffey Jr., kind of the same thing. So a lot of these goats are doing a lot of the same thing. So this is when I talk about cards as kind of an asset class. It's because most of them, when you have the top dogs here, as we'll see, they're just kind of doing one thing, and then you've got a lot of the speculation. They kind of do their own thing, so you can subdivide it within that asset class. But here we go, Ken Griffey Jr., PSA 10. That's the star rookie. And so top of the range coming after us a little bit here, bottom range getting a bit of a bounce, but it's really been a lot of consolidation here. Interestingly enough, you've seen that the 10s kind of consolidating, but the 9s, they've done a little bit better, but they're sitting at like $300, which I think there's some condition issues back with the 80s cards. But you're talking like a 10-to-1 ratio between the 9 and the 10, as you can see here. And the 9's gotten a little bit of love lately. So again, a lot of consolidation as well. Last time we broke out, it was false. We couldn't hold it, and it came quickly back into the range. So again, look at the clusters, not the spikes. But one of these days, we're going to break out or break down, and we'll have a better idea of the direction of these cards. So that 9, again, getting some lift, and it's sitting well below where the 10 is at here. So I would guess that the next sale probably comes into this range here, but seems like a pretty decent value. So we'll see how that relationship resolves itself. I've more often than not, in uptrends, you see the 9s catch up to the 10s, but when you have this consolidation and downtrend, I see the 10s catch up to the downside with the 9s. So just because it's a 10-to-1 relationship doesn't mean the 9 is cheap and is going to rocket up or anything like that. It certainly could be possible that the 10 comes down and meets it as well. So we got a couple different options, and that's why we look at the price and just kind of leave everything else to the side if all possible. Michael Jordan in the PSA 8 sideways action here, and it's respecting this boundary here. Your downside's around $7,500, and that's where we're at right now, upside around 10 or 12. And so these prices compress lower and lower each time, and so again, probabilities would say that as these prices compress lower every time we get to this area here, that it would break down, but it hasn't yet. And so for now, this has been a pretty decent spot to buy that particular card if that's what you're looking for. LeBron James in the Topps Chrome. We have this consolidation, and it sure looked like, with momentum turning up, that this thing wanted to break out and hold, but it could never do that. It had some pops here and there, fits and starts, but this thing is breaking down and it is trending lower. So we'll just change the trend on this one from indecision to down. So you had your breakdown, your retest, and this seems like a decent spot for a trade. But while you're in downtrends, the rips are for selling for the most part here. So again, this is trending down, and so I'm not sure what kind of a year he's having or anything like that, but he seems like a real Richard off the court. So, and on the court now, you get people kicked out for talking to him. So he can't help himself here. The Raw. So Trigger says, I think it's time to get a LeBron. So all right, bud, I'm gonna give you the 10. I'm gonna give you the Raw here. And you can kind of see, unlike your dates will give it to you raw, it's a little different, but there's the raw version right now. So we've got there's this line of support here, and it's getting a rip off of that. So again, the trend is down. You're getting near the top of it, but it seems like as long as there's interest in those raws, then that does kind of cap how far down the tens can go. If the raws keep going up and trending upwards, then people are just going to start trading up into the graded versions here. So again, trend is down, getting near the top of the range, but here's your line in the sand here. So a couple more another basketball, and then we'll get on to individual sports here. Charles Barkley, also the PSA 8, and a lot of consolidation. So again, you had your silly spike last year with everything going up, and then a lot of things have come back down to its previous breakout point here, and Sir Charles is no different. So again, buying these goats, they're doing a lot of consolidation, which is healthy. You're bringing in a lot more buyers, but if you're looking to buy these things to make a quick buck or anything like that, this may not be the place to look here. So Tom Brady doing pretty well here, and he had his breakdown. This is his longer term trend line, goes back quite a while here, so it's important for it to hold on here, and it is. So we're up at we're up at 24,000 a couple sales ago, and now you're back down to 20. So that's a bear market really for Mr. Brady here. So but sitting at support where buying has come in the past, and so let's see if it can do it again. And there's a number of sales in this area here, so I think people are feeling like maybe they're missing out, and this is a really good value, which would be a good sign for Tom Brady Bulls. Peyton Manning in the Chrome PSA 10 trending lower, but we've got this line in the sand around $1,300 where buying has stepped in a little bit in the past, and there's some decent accumulation here. Fake breakout and couldn't hold it, so this compression does lead to an upside breakout at some point, and so we're breaking out again. And so where am I going here? So we have a simple retest, and if we can get some more people to buy in this area, then that would be a solid, validated breakout, and we could see some higher prices. Rocket up, I don't know. There's a lot of buying in here, a lot of digestion. We'll have to see the same thing most likely. I don't think you just rip right back up or anything like that. But you could at least establish some sort of line of support, some sort of floor on this particular card. So interestingly enough, again, the PSA 9, that disconnect between the cards is fairly wide in the kind of the 10-to-1 area for the most part here. So continues to travel down. So again, we've got this level of support here. So it looks like, again, an interesting spot to buy it for a pop. If that's what you're looking for. If you're a fan, what a great price. Do it, great. His legacy is firmly established. If you are looking to make money, then your risk reward sets up pretty favorably in the near term here. But again, rips are for selling as long as this is down. So we'll see if this wants to catch up to the 10, but in a downtrend, it seems more likely that the 10 is going to catch down to the 9. All right, and I don't know why I threw this. Oh, longer term, I suppose on this one here. So this is the PSA. This is the PSA 9 as well. So you can see that this is a pretty persistent momentum to the downside here. These bands are pretty far apart and they're trending lower, and so you are in a pretty critical area of support. So that's why I like multiple time frames here. So on the short term, it looks like, hey, it could have something here. Longer term, it's like, oh my gosh, this is ugly as all get out. There's not a lot of buying in here, and you may have to come down quite a bit to establish an area where people are going to step back in. So unless we can sneak back up here, there's a lot of room down here to get to that next area where there may be some support. So that could be nasty. So we'll see. Gretzky, the great one. We've got the uptrend broke out, retested it, and went a lot higher, and it's coming down to retest this area as well. So it's hanging in. Here's your line in the sand, and so the trend is down, but as long as I can hold this area of support, then it's okay to safe to hold this card in the PSA 7. Now if it breaks back below this, then you're coming down further, but we're not there yet. So all right, this is the PSA 7. What the heck did we just look at here? This is a closer look at it here. So you can see, again, the trend is down, but we're coming up on, there's decent support in this sub $3,000, excuse me, is that sub $2,000 area here. So, another 20% down if it comes back down here, but that's kind of your risk reward setup. But again, the rips are for selling on Mr. Gretzky until we can break out of that downtrend. Mario Lemieux. So this is kind of what we're seeing on a lot of these things. You have your uptrend, your breakout, and so the hockey cards kind of do the same thing. Baseball cards kind of doing the same thing. Goats doing the same thing. So you have your downtrend kind of in this expansion, and decent area to buy it for a rip. And now you're into an area Again, these the clusters kind of would indicate that there's maybe not much to do on this one here. You're closer to the top than the bottom on this, but this was a rip below, but we didn't. So just like we want to see sustained breakouts, we want to see sustained breakdown before saying end of the world or anything like that. This was kind of a one-off, and it ripped back up here. So I don't know if I would do anything with it at this time, but if you came back down into this area a couple $100 lower, then that may be more of a reasonable spot. And this is the LPG and the PSA 8. So just a closer look at it again. So bottom of the range ripping to the top, and again, this is an area where there's been more selling. So most of these higher end cards are either in a holding pattern or a sell the rip mood here. All right, let's do a couple baseball here. Bryce Harper, your NL MVP, getting a little bit of love on this one. So we had our kind of our breakout and our $90 price on a couple of his different cards, and it's just been a lot of sideways action here. So a couple dips below this range, and they're quickly snapped up. But now you're at near the top of this range. Selling has taken place in this area in the past, but as long as we can again travel just sideways for another month or so, then hopefully people will really turn their attention to baseball, and this guy can break out. So Vlad Guerrero, Topps Chrome PSA 10, holding onto support as well here. So compressing lower, so it leads me to believe that probabilities would say it could break down, but it hasn't yet. So this has been a great spot to buy. But if it does go down, then it could go down another 20-30% or something like that to tag this previous area of whatever that was, support. Now it was resistance, now it's support. So you have to excuse me. I talk too fast, and when I do that, I just take in too much air, and I start to make all sorts of weird noises here. So, all right. So the Vlad, yeah, at support, and if holding on to this would be great. Breaking out of this would be even better. For now, it's a lot of sideways action, and again, there's probably other things to do with your money. And that thing's already been cut in half, so I don't know if it goes down a ton more or anything like that. And if it does, probably gets snapped up. So Vlad Guerrero, the Chrome update. So a lot of his refractors are doing the same thing. They're just hanging out on that line of support. And so take a look at one of his different cards here, and that is the Chrome update PSA 10, and that is broken up trend. Now it is trending lower here. So it was a bigger mover. It was outperforming the Chrome for a while, and so this one is now trending lower as well. But you can see that it hit up, here's your support zone, and it tagged it pretty well. And so it probably just grinds its way back down to this area, and then maybe it flattens out as well here. Topps Chrome update, Juan Soto PSA 10, sitting at resistance last week and got rejected, and so the trend is down, but a lot of buying comes in the 225 area. And we're sitting at 232, so between 200 225 is kind of your area for now. So again, if we get some sustained selling below this, then that's a bigger problem, but we're not there yet. And so this seems like pretty close to a decent area if this is a card that you are looking for. And everybody take a break, go get some water, anything like that. Soto lover, you can stay here because apparently he's a big dog, and so he can come up to scratch for this kind of a card. So this is the Soto, the Bowman Chrome, which he probably already has like 3 or 4 of. So if you want another one for your collection here, a broken uptrend, grinding sideways, and 52 to 5300 is kind of your line in the sand on that one. So perhaps a little bit of downside, and if it goes below that, then you want to kind of exit. But for now, this is your downtrend, and it has broken out. And so if it retests and gets a bounce, that is a very good sign. So we are seeing some sales outside of that, and so that is a broken downtrend for the time being here. Fernando Tatis, this is the PSA. This is just the regular base card, I believe, and so you can see momentum is down. It has been for a while. It's just been grinding lower, and there was a couple shots in here where it's like, oh yeah, all right, we're flattening out a little bit, and what a great player. But as soon as it breaks, it's like, okay, wrong, and that's how it goes. But now you come up into this area of support, so this is where I've been saying for a while, if we break this, then you're gonna probably make your way down to 70 to $100. There's a sale in the 90s, and a lot of these things are settling in that $100, $110 area here. So maybe it leaks a little bit further, but I think it gets snapped up pretty quickly as people are looking for. Tatis is the pink version as well, so he came back down to its previous area of support, and it's getting a little bit of a lift on that one too. So hopefully a little bit of stability and sideways action until the till the baseball season ramps up again. Ronald Acuna tops Chrome. Not a lot of change here. Again, you had your breakout, and it came back to its level that it broke out from. So a lot of sideways action, and above this is good and a great spot to pick it up. Below this, you don't want much to do with it. And one of my favorite cards of his really is the Heritage Action Update. I really love the look of that card. I think it's pretty sharp, and it's coming back into an area of support as well. So while the other Acunas are kind of holding serve here, is as long as these other variations, I mean, as long as if something gets too cheap, it's going to start to get picked up. If they're all going down together, there's no place to hide. But if some things are showing stability, and some of these more limited versions come back down to that area, price area where some of the more widely available ones are, then they're going to get picked up pretty quick. So if the other ones are holding firm, then you're not going to see these variations go a whole lot lower. They should start to firm up as well, and this seems like a decent spot for that to happen. And Kelly had a great question in the comments last week. Said, all right, if I can buy only one card, Devers or Albies, what am I doing? And so we had a little back and forth and came to the kind of the same conclusion. It's like, all right, well, Albies is on a team that championship team, but maybe like third or fourth fiddle, may overshadowed, may present a little bit better value. It's like the card prices are really, really low. And it's like, well, maybe Albies going forward, and and I'm in favor of buying both. I love both of these players and buy both whenever it makes sense. But Kelly, what we do here is we don't think. Thinking is bad on this channel, so we got to put our mind, put the math to work, and all that kind of good stuff. So I wanted to follow up and put together a little something on relative performance, and both these cards have been pretty stinky in performance terms. They've had some pops. The green is Albies and the blue is Devers, and so they've had some rips here. But it's mostly been a lot of sideways action, and they're both at a really interesting spot. But a rising line, you favor Albies, and a declining line, you favor Devers. So fundamentally, I sure like Devers, but the market says, fundamentally, I like Albies. I like them both, really, but Albies with the getting overshadowed cheap and playing at a pretty high level at a young age. But the market is telling us Devers is the outperformer there. So if you got to pick one, and these are the Chromes, there you go. So, all right, Francisco Lindor. Just follow up on a couple of players that we've talked about in the Hall of Fame Tracker series here. And so, looking for a return, we had kind of the breakout here, and said, oh, gosh, if he gets traded to a big market or signs with a big market, look for $400 and then dump it. And then I thought buying in here again would make some sense. But as soon as once it breaks below, it's like, okay, out, and we'll see what happens. And this was kind of your level to return to. And here it is. And so, the second half of Lindor's season last year was actually pretty good. It wasn't the end of the world. And as bad as his season was perceived last year, and it was bad for stretches, no question about it, he was still nearly a 3-win player and remained solidly on that long-term Hall of Fame track. And so I think this represents a pretty good value. Again, we try not to think here, but this is your logical spot for a purchase. And so tag that support zone. So you should start to grind down here, and hopefully the buyers can overwhelm the sellers on a fairly low population card here, and that would lift the price overall. Corey Seager, this was the rip hitting into the postseason, and we haven't had a sale on this one for almost 2 months, so we had the breakout, and there hasn't been any action on this one, so I would expect the next card to come back down in this area, and I would buy the living shit out of it. All right, Manny Machado, we've got our range here, $150 to the upside, $60 on the downside, so it is holding this area here, and that's another card that I think represents a good value in the markets. The past couple times it's been down here, it's been a pretty decent buy. So if you want to buy it here, double your money, and then dump it, there you go. So potentially double your money. Longer term, Mickey Mantle 51 Bowman trend is up, sneaking outside the range, could not hold it, so it's going to bring it back into an area of support. And a big rip on the last sale here, and that brings you to the top of the range again. So I'm guessing the next sale does not repeat itself. You may be getting it lower. This is the PSA 4. Mickey Mays, Willie Mays, Willie Mantle, Mickey Mays. Uptrend is intact here, so we've got a couple of different levels here, but coming off the top of the range here, pretty clean, right? So the investor psychology is working out here, and may have a little bit of downside in this area here. So it seems like those vintage cards, look good and everything like that, but you have these very little volume, and so it's a little harder to kind of get a gauge on it. So Mantle maybe not, but Mays looks okay. Sandy Koufax, kind of your line in the sand on this one is $1,500. And so again, you had your rip out of the range, the retest successfully, and now it's just grinding sideways here. So we'll see if we can probably just compress. I mean, we see how many cards are we seeing this in? Soto, Vlad, all that kind of stuff, just going sideways, and maybe maybe one of these days it breaks out. But below 1,500, you probably don't want much to do with it. All right, football, Patty Mahomes here, $2,500. This is kind of your area. Your line in the sand continues to grind lower here. Picking things up a little bit. He's your number two passer for the season here. So a lot of accumulation on that hollow PSA 10. But it is grinding lower. Looking for a little pop off the bottom of the range. We got it. But again, rips are for selling until you break out of this one. And again, it may have to retest this area. It's done it in the past. Could do it again here, so we'll see if that is the case again. Josh Allen here, we're just doing like the passing leaders here. So into your support zone here, where there's been some buying in the past. This downward compressing wedge is a bullish thing, but while you're in it, it's bearish. But if you break out, that's a bullish thing here. So it seems like a decent enough spot for Josh Allen. If it leaks below this, and then you exit. But it's not like buying up here and get hammered or anything like that. You can define your risk a little bit better here. Dak Prescott sideways action, bottom of the range looks pretty good here. Upside $1,000, downside $675. You're pretty close to that area right now here. Justin Herbert, Air Bear, trend is slightly up over a period of time, and at the bottom of the range, getting a little bit of a lift here as well. So he's playing pretty well. So there you go. Relative to some of these other guys, kind of expensive actually. So just in price, but. It doesn't matter about the price as much as it matters how many people want it. So it's all about the demand here. And Aaron, this is the base in the PSA 10. Top of the range coming off here in an area where there's been buying that steps up pretty quick. If it does go lower, it gets snapped up pretty quick, but the trend is down and rips are for selling on that particular card. And this is the Chrome, the PSA 10, $5,000. I think you can get the base a lot cheaper. So this is right around the top of the range. So selling has taken place in the past on that particular card. Basketball, Steph Curry. This is the base, that Chrome version, man. That's pretty expensive stuff. I'm a simple man here. So the base continues to grind lower at the top of the range where selling has taken place in the past here. So we're consolidating before the next move, and so we'll see if that is going to be up or down. So for now, it's slightly up actually, but longer term it's down. So we'll let the market tell us what to do when that time comes. Kevin Durant, this is the Topps Chrome in the PSA 9. The PSA 10 is actually really, really expensive. This seems like a pretty decent value here. So you've got downside to $800 and upside to $1,500, and you're closer to that downside here, getting a little pop off of support here. So if this is a card you're interested in, I mean, you may not make a ton of money or anything like that, but this does represent the one of the better buying opportunities we've had in recent memory, at least. So Giannis, consolidation and a breakdown, had a little tiny leak last week. Said, this could be a big problem here. So managing to hang on to this recent area of support. This is kind of your one-off. So there's not a lot of market memory there. That was one person. A lot more people like it in here. So this is your support zone, and he may be okay if he can hang on to this. Below this, probably brings out some selling here. So Rihanna seems all right here, but again, going below this, I don't know if you get that kick save again. With this was kind of the playoff bump and the MVP bump, playoff MVP bump or whatever. So finals MVP. So I don't know what comes in again. If he repeats it, well, yeah, there it is. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But risk reward sets up favorably, at least in the near term. And John Morant, Prism PSA 10. Getting a little choppy here, but your downside $200, your upside $300, sit at $240. So there's downside. 20% downside really to get back to this range here. But you're pretty close to that, and as long as it hangs on, then should be okay here. But again, a lot of sideways digestion. John Morant, this is the Optic Hollow in a PSA 10. And you're getting into an area here, downtrend broken, uptrend, now it's broken, and so you're looking for a potential move into this area here, $600 or something like that. So a little bit of downside, 10-15%. Perhaps you could see some bouncing right here. A lot of these names have bounced at the top end of their support zone, so I think you're getting real close on that one for the time being. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, so a lot of sideways action here at the bottom of the range, which represented good value before, but because the trend is compressing lower, kind of do favor a break on this card here. This is the PSA 6. And if it does, then the downtrend resumes, and you kind of replicate this one. It could just be a big plop lower or something like that. So unfortunate choice of words here. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Dr. J. All right, sideways action here. Had the breakout, and you're like, nah. Wait for a return to this level, and you got it. And well, you get a little bit extra. So continues to grind lower. So as long as the support zone. Again, this compression is a good sign, but not until it breaks out. So, but you're in the support zone here. So, if you're looking for this card, it looks okay as long as you manage your risk. And again, if you're a collector, this is as good a price as you've had for a while. Hockey, Connor McDavid. All right, top of the range. Said, this is where selling is taking place, and the more times you test this, the weaker it becomes. And so, I'm guessing that if he comes back up here again, you do see a breakout on this. So hockey looks really good relative to a lot of the other sports here. So you have the sideways consolidation, and when it does break, it typically breaks in the area of the previous trend, which was up. And so we'll see if that can go up, and then this would be your target, your upside target when it does that, which is significantly higher, over $5,000. So a decent move to be had in McDavid if he does break out there. So Leon Draisaitl, sideways consolidation, but he's your points leader here. So relatively, he's cheaper than some of those other guys at least. So side consolidation, we'll see what happens. Again, breakout good, breakdown bad, but he's got the breakout and he's consolidating and may resume the prior trend here. Alexander Ovechkin, this is the BGS 9, which is going to be less than half of what a PSA 10 costs you here. So I think grading wise those are pretty similar, and but the label's different. But for $3,500, maybe that's okay. Trend is up here, it's compressing, so hopefully not a breakdown back to this level here. But you're at the bottom of the range, and it seems like a decent enough area, at least in the near term, to get that particular card. All right, moving on. Jack Hughes, looked at him last week here, and had him at potential support here, and he's getting a little bit of a rip off of that one here. So coming back into an area where some selling is taking place. So I'm not, and this is kind of light volume here, so I'd like to see more of a sustained buying on the way up, and this is kind of light, so maybe a little bit of a throwback here. But again, this is a established trend for now, and so if it does come back down, you buy it until it doesn't work here. And so a couple to finish up here. Stan Lee in the PSA 10, a lot of sideways action here. So we'll see what happens with these cards. I mean, this was a $4,000 card at one point, and now it's sitting at $676. So these things have gotten rocked, but after their downtrend, they're just kind of going sideways, and there's been a lot more accumulation here. This is a lot more healthy, so we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, not much to do right now. This is such a tight range, and as it compresses more, then it's going to be forced out or down one way or the other here. So we'll see how that goes. In the near term, you might see some pretty solid movements, but if you zoom out just a little bit here, you can manage your risk a bit better on some of those. And we'll wrap it up here with Kylian Mbappe. And this is a pretty important support zone, and it is breaking below that. So again, the trend has been down for a while, but now he's breaking below this support, and there's nothing in here. So we'll see how that goes, but doesn't bode well for that card overall unless he can sneak back into here and ultimately break out. But breaking this support zone, not a good sign. So all right, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. If you like it, you want more of this stuff, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and most importantly, have a terrific weekend. Bye now.